Now, former Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter will today appear before Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts. He's expected to provide more detail following damning allegations he made publicly in a television interview, in fact, about corruption at the power utility. Newzroom Afrika's Athi Mtongana joins us live ahead of those meetings. Several questions to be put to Andre de Ruyter. And I suppose, Athi, as we go into this virtual appearance of Andre de Ruyter at the Standing Committee of Public Accounts, at the top of our minds will be the allegations he made in that TV interview.
Of course, Michelle, that is the reason why ANC MP Bheki Hadebe had written to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, particularly the chairperson, to get the former CEO to come and appear. It is right at the back of those allegations that he made publicly in a television interview where he made allegations around the corruption within the power utility. And that was crucially at the time when he was still at the helm. And you will recall shortly after that interview, he had an exit, which was before his actual time to leave the power utility. And some of the revelations that came out there are issues that, in fact, have actually been deliberated in Parliament through various oversight committees. But what is interesting with this television interview is that he went further as to link ANC politicians as well as members of the executive, even going as far as saying that he informed a minister at the time of the interview. He did not say which minister it is, but of course following that interview he then obviously it came out in the public that that particular minister was Minister Pravin Gordhan. Our colleague Garvin Whittles had an interview with the Minister of Public Enterprises around this particular issue. And of course, some of those damning allegations, Michelle, that Andre de Ruyter made in that TV interview were allegations around how about 1 billion rand gets lost and stolen within the power utility per month. And again, linking ANC politicians, linking members of the executive, basically for dragging their feet and having knowledge of the so-called cartel that is now running Eskom through corruption. So, and also he mentioned how his attempts to try and stop the scourge of corruption were not fruitful, because obviously, as he points out, that those that are really holding the powers and that those that are really running the shots made sure that this doesn't go further in terms of him trying to stop it. He even made mention of attempts on his life. He will be appearing virtually, Michelle. We don't know his location, and so there's also been talks around the protection of his life and the safety of his life. So also that's another element to also look at here. But some of the revelations, Michelle, that I can think of that he has made before Parliament that are on Parliament's records, for example, are examples of how corruption really takes place at Eskom, and how he mentions issues like, for example, Michelle, if there's a contractor that's been given a contract to provide coal, for example, that contractor would collude with some of the workers from within the power utility to ensure that even that coal is not the actual coal that is supposed to be used, and there would be other foreign material to such an extent that that contractor would get the contract extended just so they can take out all these other materials within the coal, something that obviously is planned beforehand so as to source and get more money out of the power utility. Those are just some of the examples that he has already given before Parliament. But I guess today what MPs will really be looking at is, the damning allegations insofar as these ANC politicians are concerned. Who are they, and which ministers are they? Which members of the executive are they? In fact, if you go back, Michelle, to the letter that was penned by the former president of the ANC and the former president of the country, Thabo Mbeki, he complained about ANC MPs who are seemingly failing to hold the executive to account to such an extent that they blocked an inquiry that would have taken place to look at what is actually taking place at Eskom. There was a motion to actually get to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate Eskom and the link to the ANC, and that particular ad hoc committee and the motion was then obviously not voted upon because the ANC is the majority in the National Assembly. So they, as ANC MPs, have stopped investigations that would have taken place, saying that there's other oversight committees like the Committee of Mineral Resources that can also look into this matter, but none of those committees have actually called the former CEO Andre de Ruyter to come and speak about some of these allegations that he has made, or even look at what is actually happening at the power utility given the current energy crisis.
A big story that we're tracking this morning, Athi. In fact, we'll also be in conversation with the SA National Energy Forum a little later on here on the AM Report. In fact, just in a moment. Athi Mtongana live to us there ahead of that sitting. Thanks very much indeed.